નમસ્કાર દર્શક મિત્રો, અબતક ચેનલ પરથી પ્રસારિત થતા ચાય પે ચર્ચા કાર્યક્રમમાં આપ સૌનું હાર્દિક સ્વાગત છે। આ કાર્યક્રમ અંતર્ગત આપણે વિવિધ ક્ષેત્રો સાથે સંકળાયેલી ડિગ્રીઓ સાથે ઘણા બધા મુદ્દાઓને લઈને વાત કરતા હોય છે। ત્યારે આવા જ એક અનોખા મુદ્દા સાથે અત્યારે આપણે મળી રહ્યા છીએ। ખાસ કરીને મેડિકલ ક્ષેત્રે જે અલગ અલગ પદ્ધતિઓ અને ટ્રીટમેન્ટો ભારતમાં આવી રહી છે, ત્યારે ઘણી બધી ટ્રીટમેન્ટો એવી છે કે જે દુનિયાના અમુક દેશોમાં જોવા મળે છે અને જેમાંની એક છે ઓસ્ટિયોપેથી। તો આ વિશે અત્યારે આપણી સાથે અર્જેન્ટિનાથી ખાસ આવેલા ડૉક્ટર જુવેન અત્યારે આપણી સાથે છે કે જે ખાસ ભારતના પ્રવાસે આવેલા છે અને ગુજરાતમાં પણ તે આ રોગ અને આ ટ્રીટમેન્ટને લઈને ખાસ કરીને લોકોમાં જાગૃતતા આવે તે માટે આવેલા છે। ફર્સ્ટ ઓફ ઓલ વેલકમ ટુ અવર અબતક સ્ટુડિયો સર।
થેન્ક યુ। Dr. Juven, I would like to ask you the question now. First of all, what actually osteopathy is?
So osteopathy is a system of medicine that considers that the human body is a unity. So things that happen in the musculoskeletal system are related with things that happen in the organs of the body and things that happen in the nervous system. So the relationship of these three systems gives the basis for osteopathy.
Osteopathy is majorly seen in some of the other countries of the European, we can say, but right now in India, Sri University is starting up the new course about osteopathy. Would like to say about that thing?
Correct. So we started the first Masters in Science program in osteopathy in India 2 years back. Great. So Sri University is the introductory university for osteopathy in India, and yeah. That is how it is.
As you are over here for the creating the awareness about the osteopathy in Gujarat, but probably like to ask you one question. The digestion system, you can say the muscular system of the Gujaratis, people of Gujaratis, it's somewhat unique than the other people. What would you say about that?
So I have been in Gujarat only for 1.5 days, and I have seen that one of the main features of the culture is the good food.
Yeah.
So in that sense, definitely the digestive system may be a little bit more overloaded than if you compare with some other cultures. But still I have not had the chance to work with patients. I have been mostly in interviews. So that answer I cannot give you yet.
Dr. Juven, I would like to ask one more question about osteopathy. Who is the founder of the osteopathy and what is the reason that as you can say in world the medical field is reaching the sky, but osteopathy is a new word for the world, new word for the India, new word for the Gujarat. What's the reason? What actually it is? So
the reason, to answer the first question, osteopathy has been created by an American doctor and surgeon. His name was Dr. Steele. And after the death of 3 of his kids and his wife, then he decided to review the fundamentals of medicine in order to create a non-invasive and more effective way of treatment. So this is the origin of osteopathy. And your second question is?
Second question, the osteopathy word is new for the world, new for the India and new for the Gujarat.
Actually, it's not new for the world. In many countries around Europe, North America, even South America, osteopathy has been gaining popularity, and in many European countries, for example, through the public service, you can choose if you would like to be treated by a normal physiotherapist, traumatologist or osteopath. In another field that is gaining a lot of predominance around the world is osteopathy in prevention, which means in which ways we can help the body not to develop symptoms. And we can, through the hands in osteopathy, diagnose things before they become problems in the system. So in this sense, what I understand is that the world is heading towards a more integrative medicine where prevention has a bigger role. And osteopathy can play a big role in prevention, preventive medicine.
Yes. And how osteopathy is working with human body, and what kind of injuries cure through the osteopathy?
Okay. So the way we work, I think, will be clear once we demonstrate how is the diagnosis and how is the treatment that we give. The main principle in osteopathy, as I said before, is to establish connections in the body. How, for example, if you have a blocked muscle, let's say, for example, the diaphragmatic muscle, the diaphragm, that blockage in the diaphragm can affect your digestion. So usually this will not come in the forefront of any other diagnosis. I'm giving a very simple example. For example, if you sprain your ankle, you have a lesion in the foot, how that through the system of membranes of the body can affect the stability of the hips, for example, and give you a symptom of lower back pain. So you see, different problems may have the origin in another place in the body, and this may be a connection in between the muscles and the organs and the nervous system and the musculoskeletal system. So that is how we diagnose and treat.
Okay, and what is the difference between osteopathy and allopathy treatment?
It is very different. I will start by the commonalities. The commonalities are the basis of it. We study in our osteopathy program, we study anatomy, physiology, embryology, histology, all of the same basic subjects that any doctor will know. But now the application of that knowledge is very different. What we do is we have a certain principles for our practice that we can discuss if you wish, which are different from the principles of allopathy. So one of the main principles of osteopathy is to acknowledge and work along with the self-regulation power of the body. So self-regulation means that our body is continuously working towards health, but in some cases, because of some misalignment or because of any imbalance in the system, that self-regulation will not happen in such an effective way. So through osteopathy we can help the body to work more effectively, and in that process most of the symptoms will go away.
Dr. Juven, it's been said that prevention is better than cure. It's a very renowned proverb. But if we want to merge that proverb with osteopathy, what it would be?
I would say prevention is also cure.
Okay.
And definitely we cannot choose. Once the problem is there, we have to address the problem. So it is too pretentious to expect that everyone will come before the problems develop. But osteopathy, as I said before, puts a lot of its focus on giving a full diagnosis and helping the system before the symptoms develop. Once the symptoms develop, also we can help. And to answer your previous question, we can work in musculoskeletal problems of all kind. We can work on digestive issues, respiratory issues, endocrine problems, nervous system related problems. And another feature of osteopathy is that relates the mind of the patient with the body of the patient. Usually this is not very much acknowledged in the system, but for us it's very important. How, for example, a patient which is highly stressed, let's say for work, because of work, or let's say because of emotional aspects which are not going well in the life, then that can also affect the body. And in many cases, most of our chronic problems in the body have a mind component in them, physical component and mind component in them.
Secondly, in some of the other countries where osteopathy has been accepted by the people, accepted by the patients, what's the remarks of the patient for the osteopathy?
So I think patients are very receptive to any treatment which is not invasive. That means that to solve the problem, you are not creating more problems or you are not creating pain in the process. This is something that people value a lot. And osteopathy is such a therapy that with very gentle manipulations of the body, we can create long-term results without side effects.
Is osteopathy cost effective in comparison to allopathy?
I would say it's highly. It depends on the situation, okay. But there is no medicines involved. This does not mean that the patient will not need medicines. If the patient needs medicines, the medicines should be taken along with the treatment.
Okay. As you are roaming in India for creating the awareness about the osteopathy, I would like to say that in India there are the senior citizens. The ratio of senior citizens in India is quite high in comparison to the youngsters, and they used to face the nervous system a lot. Many of the cases in which nervous failure is the case for the patient. So how osteopathy helps in nervous system, especially if we consider it as in India?
I would say in India is same as in any other place. The only difference may be that here, because of certain factors, the old age population may be suffering of certain diseases more than in other places, like diabetes, arthritis, etc. How can it help? Because our nervous system is the one that organizes all of the responses in the system. So let's take a simple example. If one vertebra of your body is rotated, what we call subluxation, so the nerve that will pass in between those two vertebrae will be disrupted, and that will affect the organ that nerve is controlling. So obviously, if there is any nervous system problem, the whole body suffers. This is the same as in allopathy or in any medical science, they will understand it similar. Now, what is one of the characteristics of osteopathy is that we can work with the nervous system to enhance it independently that the symptoms. Okay. What I mean by this is, let's say, in 70–80% of the cases, I would say, of an average middle-aged person, there is an imbalance in the nervous system towards more activity than rest. This we call it sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. So if there is an imbalance, yes, when we rest, our digestion happens properly. If we are overstressed, the digestion does not happen properly. If there is a chronic imbalance in between these systems, obviously the digestion will suffer in the long term. So it is very important to keep the balance in the nervous system. And this is one of the features of osteopathy, how we can do this to improve the quality of life, to prevent diseases, and also if the problem has already arose.
Sir, as we discussed that some of the country already accept the osteopathy very early, then what is the success rate for this treatment?
Success rate is very much dependent on different factors. Okay. It is very effective therapy for all musculoskeletal problems and all visceral problems which are linked to a mechanical component. I was giving you the example of if the muscle here, the diaphragm, gets blocked, it will affect the digestion. Let's say that patient can develop, for example, constipation because the viscera, the organs, are not getting their proper pump movement by the diaphragm. Diaphragm is the muscle by which we breathe, basically. So if the patient has that constipation problem because of the muscle, then any medicine will only be symptomatic. But addressing the cause of the problem will give permanent results. Now, if the problem is, let's say, an excess of eating pickles, then osteopathy will not help. Eating less pickles will help. So different causes will have different situations in which we can help for a permanent solution or not so much.
And as we also know that most of the people nowadays are suffering from a mental issue and mental problems like depression and all these things. Then osteopathy really work for mental issue or mental health?
See, our body and our mind are very connected. Yes. It's not that the body works on some level and the mind works on another level. We speak about different mind and body, but whatever happens in your mind happens in your body. I'm sure you, anytime in your life you had a big fear and you felt the palpitations, the whole tummy getting strained, etc. No? So let's imagine a person which is constantly having certain degree of fear in the life or certain degree of anxiety. This will create that state in a smaller degree constantly happening in the body. Less resources for a proper digestion, chronic mild palpitations, etc. So you can imagine this in the long term will bring problems. So how do we work? Through the nervous system. Through the nervous system we can regulate to improve the digestion, to improve the heart rate, etc. And when the body gets in deep relaxation, the mind goes in deep relaxation. And when the mind goes in deep relaxation, the body also goes in deep relaxation. So through the body, we can work on the body and on the mind.
Dr. Juven, as you are in Gujarat and in your previous answer, you just said that the people who used to eat the pickle, those people cannot get the benefit of the osteopathy. But to be very frank, the peoples of Gujarat are spice eater. So will osteopathy would benefit them?
I would like to correct myself. I'm not saying that the pickle will not allow for the benefits of the treatment to happen. And I was making the point that if the cause of the problem is mostly diet, then our treatment will help, but will not address the cause of the problem. That will be changing the diet. And I think Gujarati people, because they belong to the human race, they can definitely get all the benefits as any other.
But the digestive system of the Gujarati people is very much different in comparison to others. As I previously asked that the people of Gujarat are really fond of eating spicy things. So that is also the reason that their digestive system is not working properly after some age. Okay. So what osteopathy will benefit
the Punjabi community, the Gujarati community regarding this. You know, there is something interesting here to take as a point, which is that when you feel your body in a healthy way, you want to keep it in a healthy way. Okay. Sometimes if we get bad habits, let's say one day I'm having a good diet, let's say someone introduced me to pickles, and I eat the pickles, and next day I want 2 times more pickles, and then the habit is formed in such a way that after 1 month I will not like my food without pickles, because that is giving me some pleasure, right? Now, what happens if you are not aware of the consequences of eating pickles every day? Then you will keep doing it. What happens usually after an osteopathic treatment is that people become more aware and more sensitive to their own digestion and to their all physiologic processes. So they can make different choices. Diets mostly do not work, right? Because they are imposed.
Yes.
It is very hard to keep a diet. But when you feel better and when you want to keep that health state, that is a good thing that osteopathic treatment can create awareness in your life.
My third question to you, Dr. Juven, is in osteopathy, the religious touch has been given. Religious touch has been given. It's like a Reiki as we have studied osteopathy.
Oh, no.
Is it true?
No, it's not true. The only similarity you can say with any healing techniques through the hands is that we work with the hands. The energetic aspect, or you can say the spiritual aspect in osteopathy, is completely secondary to the scientific aspect. We work on the basis of anatomy, physiology, as I said before. The basic knowledge of the treatment is scientific.
Okay.
We do acknowledge that one component of everyone's life is the spiritual life and the mind and emotions, as we were discussing, but it's not the case that it's a healing technique that happens by grace or happens in such an it is a science-based treatment.
First of all, another thing that I just want to know that why you choose osteopathy?
As a kid, I had quite a series of problems on my own body. I had spondylitis, which means that one vertebra it's fractured and it slides in such a way that it creates a big imbalance in the whole spine. That was because I was previously having scoliosis. Scoliosis, I think I don't need to explain. No? And then when I got the treatment for my spondylitis and scoliosis, I came across an osteopath, and what she diagnosed and treated was quite unique. All of the previous doctors could not diagnose what was the cause of the scoliosis. And what she said is that my skull, the base of my skull, there is a bone called occiput. So this bone was tilted. Because of the tilt in this bone, then the rest of the spine compensated, creating a scoliosis. And because of the scoliosis, my pelvis was unstable, so then I had this spondylolysis problem. So what she did is she only treated my skull. There was no treatment on the spine, no treatment on the lumbar spine where I was having the fracture, no treatment on the pelvis. She only treated the skull. And as a result of that, after 1.5 years, my whole spine aligned by itself. So now I have, this was around, let's say, 12 years back. And since then I had no other spinal problem. So she really addressed the cause of the problem. And for me, it was a first-person demonstration that this thing works. And the cause I was having the problem in the skull is because when I was 1 year old, I fell on my, I was trying to stand on a stool, and the stool slipped, and because of that I fell on my back. So I hit the base of my skull. So nobody else noticed this, that there was a problem in the base of the skull. And because of this, the whole scoliosis developed. Once that problem was addressed, the whole body self-organized in such a way that today I have no longer that problem.
What age group can take the therapy of osteopathy?
That's a very good question that I would like to link to another thing. Prevention is it's a very prolific field in osteopathy. Kids in between 0 and let's say 14-15 years are especially good patients for osteopathy, even if they are not having any problem, structural problem or functional problem. It is very nice to do diagnosis for them, because as I was explaining in my own example, any small misalignment on any part of the structure, especially in the skull, in the pelvis or in the spine, that can create later problems that will only show up after, let's say, 20 years, 25 years, 40 years. So that is the prevention group, even if they are not having any problem. And for problems that already developed, you can treat people from 0 newborns till old age.
Yeah, there is one question in my mind. Can osteopathy help the students who are in stress in terms of education, because many of the youngsters commit suicides as they are not getting the good marks in the examinations? So does osteopathy help them?
Yeah. So we had this course running in Sri Sri University in Odisha, and we have a clinic there, and the clinic mainly takes care of the students of the same university. Most of them are considered healthy, but still in most of them we find that there is a high degree of stress. This stress is mental stress and also emotional stress. And as I said before, when there is big amount of emotional stress or mental stress, that will be reflected in the state of the system of the body. So definitely we can help them, not only to prevent problems that may arise like digestive problems or respiratory problems that they also may arise, but also to increase their quality of life. Osteopathy can also address, as I said before, if there is an imbalance in the nervous system, then the whole system is disrupted. By creating this balance, then the whole system expresses better, then we have more clarity of mind, essential for a student, more capacity to remember things, because as you may know, when we are stressed, then the short-term memory is very good, but the long-term memory is completely nullified. So in this sense, any work that balances the nervous system will create the conditions for better studies, better memory.
Till this our discussion, we have discussed the various aspects of the osteopathy, but actually what is the core point of osteopathy? What is the focus point of osteopathy?
The focus of osteopathy is to address any issue in the system of the patient which is not allowing to express its full health. Its full health means if a person is not happy, if it's not serene in the mind, if it's not energetic, then it's not healthy, we consider in osteopathy. So from that stage to a severe disease, everything which is in between, we can improve that situation. So the focus is to help people in their process towards the better health possible.
And mainly, Doctor, you are in Gujarat to aware people about osteopathy. Then what kind of step you take for awareness of people that they were aware about osteopathy?
So what I find is that most of the people is not aware at all about osteopathy in India. It's a new word, a new concept.
Yes.
But still, you know, here in India you have Ayurveda. And Ayurveda and osteopathy, they share the same philosophy. The philosophy is that the body, when it's put in balance, when the system is in balance, the health expresses with a lot of potency. And this is the same philosophy in osteopathy than in Ayurveda. So we find that in the beginning it's little tough to introduce the concept and etc. But we find a lot of receptivity in all of the medical students. They really get the interest of it because they understand it's something that in many cases they want. How can I help people without creating side effects in cases where the medicines are not absolutely needed? So we are, most of the tour is about to create awareness among the medical students and also on the patients.
Okay, and what kind of injuries is cured through this treatment?
Okay, so injuries, you mean sport injuries like almost all, from tendinitis, ankle sprains, knee problems, hip problems, back problems, chronic pains, endocrine issues, digestive issues, respiratory issues, mental related issues, problems in the mandible also that are so common these days, problems in the mandible. There is a big field inside osteopathy relating it to problems that derive from dental interventions. You know, when a tooth is extracted, it creates a whole set of compensations and dysfunctions on the whole system of the face and head. So through osteopathy we are working along with dentists and having great results on how after the dental treatments they can get their system back in balance, that will prevent future headaches, future pains in the area and maybe in the neck, etc., etc. Pains.
Dr. Juven, what you would say that is India is capable enough for the osteopathy therapy, to gain the osteopathy therapy and to pass it to the patients?
I feel India is one of the most receptive countries because your culture, it's very much encompassing all of the human values, and for example meditation, which is something that is trending all over the world, has originated in India. And as I said before, no, for us health doesn't mean only that you don't have acidity in the stomach or you do not have pain in the ankle. It means that you can express your life in the full potential. And this has been the goal of India since many ages. Yes. And it's something we are importing around the world, and everywhere people is eager to get this knowledge. In the same way, osteopathy shares that commonality with India. So I feel this holistic approach to health and holistic approach to the human system has been in India since ever. What we are introducing now is just a technique. How can we apply those principles, that philosophy, in a concrete way to help people?
Secondly, the students, the youngsters of India is in that position that they used to know a very latest thing. So what is the eligibility for the students to be in the field of osteopathy?
So as for now, we have only master's degrees offered in the country. Master program means that after UG undergraduate program, you can go for osteopathy. Our eligibility in Sri University is MBBS, BDS, BPT and BDS. Dentists, physiotherapists, allopathic doctors and Ayurveda doctors. So these four professions are eligible for the Masters in Science.
Dr. Juven, I just want to ask you one last question, that what is the success rate of this treatment in India?
So in India, I have been here for 2 years and I have seen some amazing cases. And as in any other place, the success rate of osteopathy depends on many factors, as we were discussing before. I would like to share with you a few examples of we are now finishing the first batch of osteopaths graduated from Sri University. The first batch graduated from as osteopaths. They will be finishing their course in 1 month from now. So among the students, some of them have had very good results. We had a case of pituitary adenoma. This is a growth, an adenoma on the pituitary gland, which is situated here. And this person was having chronic headaches, a lot of disturbances in the system, endocrine problems, etc. And after our diagnosis, we found that one of the bones of the skull was misplaced. And because it was misplaced, it was tilted like this, then it had created less space for the gland. The pituitary gland that rests on that bone was more compressed on one side as compared to the other side. Because of this, it has developed a growth, an adenoma. Once the bone came back into place, in a lapse of 3 weeks, this adenoma completely went away. So this is an example of how, through a non-invasive approach, by getting the structure back in place, the system itself self-regulates and can deal with a problem which is considered very severe as an adenoma. We had very remarkable cases also regarding the digestive system. Just to name an example, one of my students also treated a case of ulcerative colitis, which is a chronic inflammation of the colon, usually leading to chronic medication for the whole life. And this person had 5 sessions of osteopathy distributed in 5 weeks of treatment, and after that the reports, medical reports, came completely normal. So another case was there of a hypothyroidism patient that we diagnosed that the hypothyroidism was not only having a physical component but also a psychological component. And by addressing both together, the patient values of the thyroid gland completely normalized in the lap of 1 month. Okay. So success is happening in many conditions. This I'm just naming cases by our students, which are not even graduated in their clinic. They are having their results.
And if any patient take this treatment, so after that there is no need to take any other treatment?
I will not say that at all. I would say osteopathy is very complementary to other treatments. In many cases the medication is needed, being allopathic or Ayurveda or Chinese medicine, whatever is the choice of the patient, homeopathic. along with that, the osteopathic treatment can help in all of the mechanical components of the problem. So in that sense, it's very complementary. Yeah. And we will never suggest a patient not to take the medicine or whatever is needed to.
જી દર્શક મિત્રો, જે રીતે આપણે ઓસ્ટિયોપેથી વિશે ડૉક્ટર જુવેન સાથે ઘણી બધી વાત કરી અને ઘણા બધા ટોપિક્સ ઉપર એમને આપેલા ઘણા બધાને જાગૃતતા માટે પણ વાત કરી કે જે રીતે એક ઓસ્ટિયોપેથી એક નવો જ સબ્જેક્ટ છે ભારત માટે, પણ ચોક્કસપણે લોકોને પણ આનાથી આગળ જતાં ઘણો બધો ફાયદો થશે. અને બીજી કોઈ ડિગ્નિટી સાથે ફરીવાર આપણે મળતા રહીશું એક નવા જ મુદ્દા અને નવી જ વાત સાથે. ત્યાં સુધી મને રજા આપો અને જોતા રહો અબતક ચેનલ.